Okay, so this next step is what I believe is the most important step for making these types of beats. This is probably the most used preset in Omnisphere by practically every single producer. Alright, what's good YouTube? So in this video, I'm going to be covering how to make rage beats for Trippie Redd. Specifically in this video, I'm going to be covering like the best drum kits to use, best scales, VSTs, and keys to use, as well as various tips and tricks along the way. Also, if you want any of the sounds or samples that I use in this tutorial, there's a link in the description where you can download them completely free. Also, make sure to follow my Instagram and Twitter at FinnaFinesse, as well as this new beat channel that I upload with the link in the description at jmizzy. From now on, that's where I'm going to be uploading some of the beats that I make from these tutorials, as well as beats that I make in my spare time. Yeah, but let's get on to the video. Okay, so let's start with scales. Whenever you're trying to make beats for a specific type of artist like this, I find that it's always best to look up what their most popular songs are and what scales they were made in, because it'll give you an idea of like where their vocal ranges sit. For Trippie Redd songs, I noticed that they tend to sit between F sharp and C minor, so anything in those ranges will work for these types of beats. As for what rage beats are, you want to go for a sound that's really like synthetic, anthemic, and sad. So with this in mind, starting with VSTs, I think the best ones to use are Omnisphere, Electra X. I think a combination between both of these VSTs will give you the exact sound that you're looking for, and no other VST really out there can compete. Okay, so with this in mind, basically what I'm going to be doing is breaking down a beat that I already made. So the first thing I did before everything was I went into the mixer state right here, and I put a gross beat halftime preset on practically every single slot, at least for when I was making the melodies. The reason I did this is I'm going to be reversing the melody I make, and with that in mind, I find when you make melodies with gross beat on, everything becomes much softer, you know, there's less attack, and there's less of a fadeaway and stuff like that, which makes it sound even better in reverse. So as an example of this, what I did is I just took this random one shot that I found of guitar. So as you can see with the one that doesn't have gross beat on it, there's a little bit less of a fadeaway than there is with the one that has gross beat, and that's going to help a lot when we reverse our sounds, because you know, less fadeaway means there's going to be less sharp peaking points with our sounds and our melodies, which is very important. Okay, so the first thing I did was I laid down this very basic melody in Nexus 2 with a piano sound. The preset is called DRZA X on pad. As you can see with the main melody that I used, as well as most of the other melodies that I can be showing after this, there's a lot of like 2-note and more gaps, which as you've been familiar with my channel, you know that 2-note gaps is used for really emotional beats, and 2-note or higher gaps is used much more for anthemic things. So those two things combined is going to give you the sound that you want. That sounds like this. Then I took another sound called SY Spherical Pikes from Nexus 2. It's a bit more of a synthetic sound, again, something that we're going for these types of beats. And I just laid down this basic like lead pluck melody that sits on top of the original one, again with gross beat on it, and that sounds like this. Then I laid down this another random sound that I found in Omnisphere called Bell Gucci. I don't know what pack specifically it's from, but basically I just played down this melody that just kind of sits in the background of the other ones. As you can see, I just kind of copy pasted the top part of the original melody and then just pasted it in there. And that sounds like this. So then the next sound I added was a layered on version of the original lead melody with the synth sound that I was talking about earlier. It just plays the exact same melody. The preset I use is called DRZA Trap Sign, and that sounds like this. Since it's a sound that's getting like brought in just to create more energy and, you know, depth in the melody, I like the fact that that preset itself doesn't have a whole lot of like high end, you know, it kind of just sits in the background, and it's really just a sound you layer on top of the original lead melody. Then I add this super basic vocal stab with, again, gross beat on it. That sounds like this. Then I went into a Nick Mara pack, which I'm going to be talking about later, and I just found this random Punch the Keys perk. I do believe this is actually the sound that was used to make EXO Tour Life. It's the same clicking sound, and again I put gross beat on it, and that sounds like this. And then finally I add this basic piano melody from this preset Grand Piano LA Custom C7. This is probably the most used preset in Omnisphere by practically every single producer. It's just the best sounding piano preset in my opinion. And I laid down this super basic melody that sounds like this. Finally, what I did was I just arranged all those sounds, and then I went to the mixer and I rendered everything into a sample so I could reverse it. So after just adding like minimal effects like reverbs and delays, as well as just cutting out a lot of like the low ends and high ends, what we're left with is this. And now the melody after being reversed sounds like this. Okay, so this next step is what I believe is the most important step for making these types of beats, and that's the drums, specifically the 808. As Wheezy once said, the 808, it's kind of like the heart of your beat. So given the type of beat that we're making, you know, when I think of the 808 we want, I think of one that's really loud and distorted. Personally, I find that for these types of beats, there's no better drum kits than the Nick Mara drum kits. You know, they're by far the best because they have a lot of those types of 808s. They have a lot of experimental sounds you can work with, as well as like, he kind of helped craft this sound himself. So, you know, he has the best sounds for it after all. Speaking of which, if you want any of my personal drum kits, link in the description of my store page. But yeah, I'm gonna use the Nick Mara drum kits for this. So the first 808 I found was this 808 called Nick Mara Contra 808, and I just laid down this basic 808 pattern that follows the root note of the original melody. That sounds like this. Then a kick sound I found from Nick Mara's Stash drum kit called Kick Dump, and it basically just follows along with the 808 pattern, nothing super complex or overdone. Then I add this clap sound called Clap Pyrex, just hitting on the basic 2s. And then I add this snare called Side Piece Virgin Snare, and then I just had it hit in these two spots right down here. Then I add this hi-hat called Hi-Hats Red, very suiting, right? And I laid down this basic hi-hat 2-step pattern, but then I add these little like rolls and steps below it at G sharp 4. All those elements together sounds like this. Then finally, I add this open hat right here called Perks 3 open hat. It's a super basic one that everyone has, I promise you. And I just had it hitting on the 2 right here. If you watch my drum patterns tutorial, you know this is a super generic drum pattern that I was talking about in the tutorial that you'll hear in so many beats. You know, so I kept it super simple, super generic. So now all the drum sounds together sounds like this. Yeah, but that's basically going to be it for this beat as well as this tutorial. I'm going to play the full beat at the end for you guys to hear, as well as I'm probably going to be uploading this again on my other beat channel at JMizzy, which I'll have a link in the description if you want to go check that out. You know, make sure to go check that out. It helps me out a lot. Also, make sure to like and subscribe, as well as follow my Instagram and Twitter at FinnaFinesse, and let me know what kind of videos you guys want me to do next. And that's basically it for the video. I'm out. Peace.